for you, but the recording just started, so we're going to go ahead and continue then. Good morning. But like I said, we're very excited about the Quad Agency Initiative, and we'll go ahead and get right into it. But so what we can now do is I'm going to basically read this verbatim. This is the first meeting of the Quad Agency Child Care Initiative Commission as required. Texas Human Resource Code, Chapter 74. Chapter 74 was established by House Bill 4903, enacted during the 89th Texas Legislature session. For those of you who don't know, I'm Joe Esparza. I chair the Workforce Commission here, also represent employers on the three-member commission. I definitely want to look into the crowd and recognize my fellow commissioners that are here. Commissioner Trevino, who represents our labor, and Commissioner Connett represents our public member, our new face on the commission. So thanks, Brent. I would also like to turn to Commissioner Morath, if our Quad Agency partners would like to introduce themselves. Commissioner Morath, I'll point to you. You got to hold that down. I learned that this morning.
Commissioner of the Texas Education Agency and Royal County. I'm the Director for Child Care Investigations at the Department of
Dixon, Chief Policy and Regulatory Officer at the Health and Human Services Commission.
Thank y'all for that. We will just note today's meeting is live streamed via Zoom. Virtual attendees are on a listen-only mode, and those who have registered to submit public comment will be allowed to unmute their computers during the public comment time. So today we're going to be hear from participating agency representatives, with each of them providing an overview of how their agency fits into the child care landscape. And also our mission will be to review the proposed standards of operating procedures. Today we're going to get that done too, and discuss other agency projects that are relevant to the Quad Agency Commission work. And we'll have time for public comment before we adjourn. But I definitely want to open it up. I know we did introductions, but any comments from the agencies on how each of the agencies fits into the child care landscape? Do that.
Sure. So one of my divisions is Regulatory Services Division, and they are separated into different departments, and one of those departments is child care regulation. So we license and regulate child care operations on the residential side, so related more to typically foster care and residential child care, and also on the daycare side. We have 7 different daycare provider types, from large daycare centers to listed family homes and before and after school programs. So we license them, we inspect annually, and we investigate complaints that are not related to abuse or neglect, which go to our partners at DFPS.
We oversee K-12 education, which includes pre-K offered through school systems. This is independent school districts and open enrollment charter schools. Those school systems have the ability to offer that service directly, or they can partner with a third party to do so, and will do so with private child care providers in certain circumstances. There's a variety of statutes that require them to attempt to partner. Those statutes have recently been changed, and so our work to support a kind of mixed delivery model is changing, given the changing statutory landscape.
Commissioner Cox.
The FBS conducts abuse and neglect investigations into child care operations, both daycare as well as some over the residential side as well. The other piece that the FBS does is kind of for the consumer side, and we work to connect families and other people with daycare services to provide safe environments for kids.
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot to mention one other key piece that we do is the background checks. So when a daycare wants to hire anybody, they submit their name to us, and we run the criminal background check, sex offender registry, central registry, until the operation if they can hire someone. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And by all means, we're pretty informal when it comes to speaking up. So yeah, thank you for showing us that, and I'm very excited to learn from other agencies on how we're going to work together. I want to introduce Reagan Miller, our Child Care and Early Learning Division Director, and she's going to give us an overview of the Texas Workforce Commission's role.
All right, thank you, Chairman. So as many of you know, we're the lead CCDF agency in Texas. We administer the Child Care Services Program, which provides financial assistance, also called scholarships, also called subsidies. It's all the same thing. And we're serving about 150,000 kids per day. Through that program, we're allocating about $1.4 billion to our 28 local workforce development areas to administer that program. $1.4 billion is a lot of money, but when you look at the number of kids we're serving, that 150,000 is only about 12.5% of the total license capacity in the state of Texas. But about 50% of all regulated providers have one or more of our kids. So we work with a lot of childcare programs, even though we're a relatively small percentage of the overall childcare market. We also are under contract with DFPS to arrange their childcare. So all of their protective services childcare is administered through our 28 workforce development areas. We also administer the Texas Rising Star program. It's a quality rating and improvement system. A couple of years ago, that program was made mandatory by the Texas legislature. So all programs in Texas that participate in the Child Care Services program are required to be certified through Texas Rising Star. That program looks at quality indicators like curriculum and lesson planning, interactions, staff qualifications, those types of things. And then finally, I'll just note that we work on pre-K partnerships. As Commissioner Morath mentioned, pre-K can be delivered in a mixed delivery system. So we partner with TEA as well as Texas A&M University System to support the development of those pre-K partnerships across the state. So very high level of.
Very good. Any questions so far, members? Right now, our members have been provided a draft of the proposed interagency agreement on how the Quad Agency Commission will operate. These drafts were provided to the members' offices for review prior to the meeting. Everybody okay with everybody on that page? I'm going to get to that page real quick.
And members, you'll see an agenda, a copy of the legislation, and then the draft operating procedures in your packets.
You want to go over that?
Yes. So at a high level, the draft operating procedures outline the statutory basis for this commission, the charge that this commission was given in state law. It acknowledges other statutory requirements like maintaining a website with information for the public. The legislation also directs the Quad Agency to enter into an agreement between the commission's participating agencies. And so these draft standard operating procedures would serve as that interagency agreement, noting how the commission will partner together. There's a section on meetings. The commission we're proposing would meet at least 3 times each year, may meet in person or virtual, or as we're doing today, both. The meeting and agenda are subject to the Open Meetings Act, and so we'll be posting all of these with the Secretary of State. But we're also proposing that all of the agencies distribute information about these meetings through their general distribution lists. So I know that we send out a notice to thousands of folks across the state. I don't think many of you are monitoring the Secretary of State's Texas Register publication. So while we publish there to comply with the law, we're also notifying you through other means that are more easily digestible and easy to receive. We have a section on the quorum. The quorum is at least 3 members or their designees. We have a section on the public comment provisions. So these are open meetings, and we do have public comment available at all of the meetings. As we noted in the agenda and the notification, you can sign up to provide in-person public comments or virtual public comments. The minutes are required, and we are proposing that those minutes would be accomplished by posting a recording of all the Quad Agency meetings on the Quad Agency website. The statute also requires that the Quad Agency notify the governor's office by the 30th day following a commission meeting of any participating actions that are under review. And when it comes to determining what the commission shall review, we have a procedure for the public to request or provide suggestions. Those reviews can be submitted to the Quad Agency Child Care email. We're asking for sufficient detail to really understand what the public is asking us to review. All of those items come into the Quad Agency, and under the statute, the chair of the commission determines which issues will be identified for review. The commission can request subject matter input, and so we have the opportunity to invite subject matter experts either in writing or in person to provide input on issues. When the chair determines what existing or proposed regulation, rules, standard, policy is going to be reviewed, the initiation will be announced and granted during a Quad Agency Commission meeting. It will then be posted on the commission's website, and within 10 business days after initiating review, we'll provide written notice so that the public is aware that this particular issue is under review, and obviously the public will have the ability to review and provide public comment. Public comment are also sent into that Quad Agency email address, and public comments are open for 30 days after that review is announced. The Quad Agency Commission would then review the recommendation at their next meeting. So an issue for review will be announced at one meeting. In between that meeting and the next, the work will happen to review the issue. And our goal is that at the next meeting, the commission would then consider the actual issue and whether or not the issue is consistent with the objectives of the Quad Agency, inconsistent with the objectives of the Quad Agency, or that we're unable to reach a unanimous decision. That's spelled out in statute. If the commission determines an action is consistent, it still goes to the Texas Regulatory Efficiency Office. So the TREO will review the recommendations from the commission itself. And then final decisions are made by the TREO. We will post all of the information that's under review on the Quad Agency website. So anything will be available to the public, along with the recordings of the minutes of the meeting. Members, in your packet is a sheet of paper behind the draft procedures. It's an email that we received this morning. DFPS had a recommendation. Clint, what would you like to?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's an amendment that we would put in the agreement.
If the members were to agree to it.
And do we have to make a motion to that, or do we include it and then wait until the next portion? Okay. I guess what we'll use is the language in this email.
In your packet.
Right here. Would you like to make a motion just to add this into the agreement?
I motion to add the proposed language into the agreement.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We will add this language that was provided in the email earlier this morning to our agreement. Now, as that changes the document, we can still agree. If the floor is open to discussion on any other on the other changes that we want to propose at this meeting currently. Is there anything else that would like to be time to review anything? Motion and seconded. We will be accepting. All in favor? Votes unanimous. We are agreed upon as documents are updated here.
And we will make this amendment, and then we will route this for signature for all of the commission members.
Very good. Okay, that was a big part of today's administrative meeting, so thanks everybody for that. I would like to recognize Ms. Dixon to start her presentation on HHSC childcare regulations project. Ms. Dixon. Commissioner Dixon.
Thank you. So we have a lot going on in the daycare space within HHSC that I think aligns really well with the Quad Agency Commission. So probably in July, August of 2024, HHSC launched an initiative, the Regulatory Reform Initiative. We regulate almost 40 providers across long-term care, acute care, and childcare. Some of them have rules that have not been comprehensively reviewed in 20 years. So we have developed a comprehensive kind of framework to inventory, assess, and hopefully reduce and streamline our rules across all of our providers. And part of the impetus behind this was really in the childcare space. In 2023, the legislature passed Senate Bill 593, which directed HHSC to contract with an external entity to review all of our residential childcare rules. To residential childcare providers. Based on that report that we got from that vendor, we then worked with a couple of the members of the legislature to draft and pass a bill last session to remove some statutory and we've also started making pretty significant changes to our residential childcare provider rules. This past session in 2025, based on the success of the residential piece, we worked with Representative Frank to get together a rider 165. There we go. Sorry. Rider 165. And that directed us to basically do the same thing in terms of contracting with a third party expert to evaluate. So we have entered into a contract with A&M to conduct that review of all of our daycare rules and statutes. We have had a kickoff meeting. Switch out. We've had a kickoff meeting, and they will be providing a report to us by the end of next summer. And then we will respond to that report and submit a report to the legislature prior to next session. I do want to mention that a huge part of all of our regulatory reform work is stakeholder input. We form a stakeholder work group primarily of providers, but on the residential side, we also have foster parents, kinship parents. So we've asked our vendor in this case to engage with the childcare provider community and other stakeholders. And so that should be happening soon. So I think I'm really excited about this initiative because, you know, we can streamline a lot of rules. For example, we just published our new kinship caregiver rules in which we cut 75% of our rules for kinship caregiver providers. We can do that all we want on daycare, but if there's the same requirement exists, you know, in TWC or TEA or DFPS rules, then we haven't really accomplished anything. So I think that this is really good timing. And I think once we get that report from the vendor, we can work with you all and with our stakeholders to determine how are we going to move forward in terms of reducing, streamlining our rules. I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Thank you for the time and information. I would like to propose that the Quad Agency Commission defer any reviews related to child care regulations, minimum standards, until HHSC has conducted their external evaluation of these minimum standards. I would also like to propose that we forward any comments received by the Quad Agency regarding child care regulation activities to HHSC for consideration in this project.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. All in favor? Motion passes. Any other member, is there any other projects we'd like to discuss? Commissioner. Yeah. Any other projects that your agency is undertaking?
As far as we completed a review of all of our training and everything else related to our abuse and neglect investigations last December. So we're going to start working on evaluating how has that worked and lessons learned from the last year. And then further implementation of what's called business process redesign following a RIDER last lead session, where we're working to come up with streamlined as well as focused investigations to hopefully reach more timely resolutions. But those are things that have already been in progress.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Appreciate it. Is there anything?
Nope.
Okay. That concludes our agenda. That brings us to item 5 on public comment. Would like to remind folks, anybody that hasn't filled out. Okay. Okay. Anybody who hasn't filled out and would like to make public comment, come over here and contact us, and we'll get you scheduled up. Public comment. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and start off with Kayla Linder. We'd like to come up. Where are? Yeah. Yeah. Well, if we're all coming around to that. Thank you.
Working? Hello?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, next time I'll remember not to sign up so fast. I'm not the first one up.
You're hard to, you're literally this initiative's first public comment. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kayla Linder. I'm a child care provider. I'm president-elect of the Texas Licensed Child Care Association and one of the founders of Fractal Education, which owns and operates 17 individually branded early learning centers across Texas. I'm also a foster adoptive parent of young children. Before I begin, I'd like to share a little bit about who TLCCA represents. TLCCA is the largest organization of licensed child care providers in the state. We support the business owners who operate programs of every size, faith-based, nonprofit, corporate, family-owned, and community-based. These business owners employ thousands of teachers who care for children every day. And because of that care, parents are able to work, businesses are able to function, and communities are able to thrive. Our tagline represents this reality perfectly. We are the workforce behind the workforce. Without stable, high-quality childcare, the rest of the economy cannot function. Today marks an important milestone. This is the first meeting of the Quad Agency Child Care Initiative Commission, brings together TWC, HHSC, DFPS, and TEA, 4 of the agencies whose combined policies shape the entire operating environment for childcare providers in Texas. In my role as an operator of 17 centers, an associate leader, and a mother, I see every day how these decisions across agencies impact classrooms, teacher retention, family stability, and business viability. Across Texas, providers navigate 4 separate regulatory systems that all touch the same children and staff. We regularly encounter conflicting and duplicative requirements, different interpretations or expectations from different agencies and the representatives. administrative burdens that pull directors away from training, supporting, and retaining teachers, and rising operational costs and staffing shortages that make it difficult for centers to remain open. Providers want to meet the high standards for safety and quality, but we need a regulatory system that is coordinated, consistent, and practical to implement. This commission gives Texas the chance to address long-standing challenges through meaningful alignment. We can reduce contradictory and duplicative policies. We can align documentation, timelines, and definitions, improve communication directly to providers, make compliance clearer and more efficient, support both program quality and operational stability. Your agenda today lays the foundation for better coordination. This is an opportunity to build clarity where confusion has existed for years. As you develop your standard operating procedures, I strongly encourage you to establish a formal child care provider advisory committee. This committee should represent owners and directors of multi-site operations and single-site centers, faith-based, nonprofit, and private programs, providers from urban, suburban, and rural communities. These individuals understand the practical impact of regulatory decisions and can help anticipate challenges before policies take effect. A standing advisory committee will help you identify implementation issues early, minimize unintended consequences, improve alignment across agencies, increase clarity and compliance, and strengthen the entire state's childcare infrastructure. Providers are not asking to control the process. We are simply asking to partner in building a system that supports children, families, and the workforce. Thank you for your leadership and bringing these agencies together to strengthen and coordinate early childhood. As the president-elect of TLCCA and one of the founders of Fractal Education, I can assure you that providers across Texas are ready to collaborate. We want to bring real-world experience forward and help shape policies that promote safety, quality, and long-term sustainability. As you finalize your process and structure, I respectfully urge you to incorporate ongoing provider representation into this commission. With meaningful partnership, we can strengthen the childcare system that allows every working family in Texas to succeed. Because at the end of the day, we are the workforce behind the workforce. Thank you for your time, your service, and your commitment to listening to providers who support Texas every day.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Thank you, Kayla. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. Sharon Perry up next from Kids Are Kids. San Antonio, if you're here. Okay.
You can take your chair back if you'd like.
Yeah, please. Thank you for the loaner.
Yeah.
All right. Anita Parker. Anita Parker. I'm Miss Parker.
Good morning. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak on behalf of myself, child care owners, directors from all across Harris County, Houston, Texas. My name is Annetta Parker. I am the director for Precious Stones Academy. We are located in Houston, Texas on the northeast side of town in a desert area. We are in the middle of 3 ISDs, Houston ISD being one of the largest, Aldine Independent School District, and Sheldon Independent School District. We are licensed with the state of Texas. Of course, we have accreditation with Rising Star and Texas School Ready. And the reason I am here is to be the voice for all directors and child care centers all across Harris County and Houston. My concern and question is really for the disconnect with Texas TWC and TEA in regards to ISDs not being required or mandated to partner with accredited, licensed, held accountable child care centers. I'm concerned, I'm that voice for the directors. What is the disconnect, or why is there a disconnect between TWC and TEA not requiring or mandating schools to partner with accredited child care centers? Because we work so hard to be accredited. to be licensed, get the accreditations with our teachers, get them through their CDA program. But I just don't understand the disconnect with TWC and TEA requiring schools to partner with childcare centers that work so hard. I've had the privilege to meet with Mr. Murat maybe twice, I believe, regarding this very item. The disconnect. I'm watching schools all around me bring in buildings for the overcrowded classrooms. They have added early. The kids can go in school as early as 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. They have after school. That alone hurts childcare centers. And then when 2019 House Bill passed, where schools could allow children 3 and 4 to enroll for free. We can't compete with free, but I'm just concerned about the disconnect in mandating school districts to truly partner with childcare centers, accredited childcare centers.
Have you, I'm curious, since you and I have talked, have any of those 3 districts issued a call for partners to your knowledge?
No, sir, they have not. I've reached out to Sheldon and HISD, but they have not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What was the third?
Aldine Independent School
Aldine?
District.
Okay.
I'm right in the middle of all 3.
Any other questions? No. Thank you, Ms. Parker. Appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
Up next, we have Kim Coughlin. Okay. Please come on up and please state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Kim Coughlin. I am the Senior Director of Early Childhood Education for Children at Risk. As a statewide child advocacy organization, we focus on where we can improve our early childhood education systems in Texas, which allows families to choose the child care and the services that they deserve for their children. For the past 30 years, I have been working in the Texas child care landscape, first on the ground as a Texas-based multi-site company, and now supporting the field through advocacy and membership of organizations for the last several years. In that time, I have seen lots of progress in our childhood programs, but I have also continued to watch silos be built between state agencies that touch the life of a child care provider and the families who are trying to navigate what can feel like a spaghetti bowl of programs and requirements. Currently, child care programs have the potential to work with and be in compliance with 6 different state agencies. This commission is looking into 4 of those 6 agencies. During the pandemic, some of the silos came down. Agencies were talking to each other, working together, solving problems in real time. Some of that collaboration still continues and happens today. For example, there's been meaningful work across agencies, especially aligning child care regulations, minimum standards, and the Texas Rising Star standards during their regular review processes. And providers appreciate that, but there is still more work to be done. Each year, the early childhood team at Children at Risk goes on what we call our Texas tour, visiting communities across Texas. We share the latest data on the child care landscape in their communities and across the state. We talk with them about new state and federal policies that will affect their businesses. And most importantly, we listen. We listen to what happens on the ground, or what's happening on the ground. This year, because of the Quad Agency Commission, the Governor's Task Force on Early Childhood Governance, and the Sunset Review process, we also conducted a statewide survey. The response was overwhelming. We've heard from over 1,300 providers across every workforce board across the state. We are still processing that data and we'll bring you additional information in the new year. But I wanted to highlight some high-level themes that we're already rising to the top. First, we need to improve interagency coordination, not only on the standards themselves, but on the human side of implementation. Ensuring greater consistency across licensing reps, mentors, assessors, and other state support staff. Secondly, we need to modernize communication and access tools. As one provider told us on the tour, we need websites that look and function like they were built in 2025, not 2005. And that kind of hurt because I remember when those websites were built. So and beyond updating the look and feel, providers and families need a single access point, a website to navigate information across agencies instead of chasing down the multiple different places. And third, we need strong alignment across agencies on processes, not just the standard, but forms, eligibility requirements, inspections. Right now, it's confusing, duplicative, and time-consuming, not only for our providers, but for state agency staff, which takes away the attention away from what matters most, serving children and families in high-quality, safe programs. In the new year, we look forward to sharing more details about the findings of our survey and from the hundreds of conversations with providers across the state, along with recommendations based on our analysis of the local workforce quality report, our updated childcare deserts, and this year looking at chronic childcare deserts. As you continue to work, I encourage the commission to look not only at the standards themselves, but also how these standards are interpreted and implemented across agencies. It's equally important to distinguish where the state has authority to streamline those forms, simplify eligibility, and reduce duplication versus where federal requirements limit flexibility. Thank you for your commitment and your dedication to strengthen our early childhood systems. Your leadership has the potential to make navigating these programs clear, more consistent, and more supportive for children, families, and the providers who depend on them every day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Coffin. Any questions, comments?
Is your organization and your survey, was it focused exclusively on daycare centers, or do you also work with daycare homes?
It was open to all.
Okay.
Homes and centers. Yes.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Coffin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Brian Van Dyke is on here. Is he here today? Oh, there you go. We also have your some testimony on packets, Commissioner. Mr. Van Dyke, state your name and your organization.
Good morning. My name is Brian Van Dyke. I am a provider in the Bryan College Station area, also with the TLCCA. Good morning, members of the Quad Agency Hearing Committee and distinguished guests. My name is Brian Van Dyke. My wife and I own and operate 2 Kitty Academy educational childcare centers in the Bryan College Station area. I also serve as a legislative chair for the Texas Licensed Childcare Association, otherwise known as TLCCA. Our organization represents licensed childcare providers throughout Texas, working tirelessly to promote safe, high-quality care for children and families. Thank you for allowing me to share our perspective today. TLCCA is thrilled about the creation of the Quad Agency and fully supports its mission to enhance childcare oversight in Texas. This new entity offers a fresh opportunity to build a more cohesive system that prioritizes efficiency and effectiveness, ultimately benefiting everyone involved in childcare, from providers to parents and the children we serve. We do want to recognize that historically, the childcare sector has faced hurdles due to overlapping standards across various regulatory agencies. For example, providers have often dealt with redundant requirements in areas like safety inspections, staff trainings, and operational guidelines, which can create unnecessary complexity in sharing resources. These duplications have sometimes made it harder for dedicated professionals to focus on what matters most, delivering nurturing environments for young learners. Small providers in particular have felt the impact, and they've navigated conflicting rules that slow down daily operations and innovation. Even with these challenges in mind, we are genuinely optimistic about the Quad Agency's potential to streamline processes and eliminate redundancies. It represents a positive shift towards clearer, more unified regulations and can strengthen the entire field. At TLCCA, we see this as a chance to move forward collaboratively, turning past lessons into future successes. What makes our association uniquely positioned to contribute is our hands-on experience as active childcare providers. Every day, we're in the trenches, managing classrooms, supporting families, and adapting to real-time needs in diverse settings, from busy city centers to quieter rural communities. This frontline viewpoint gives us insights that aren't always visible from a policy level. For the past several years, advocacy for the child has been very strong, as it should be. They are our future. But what has been missing is advocacy and voice for the provider. And it's not just about large childcare operators, but also about the small in-home licensed providers whose voices are often left out. We can let policymakers know that while it is great While it's great to introduce something new or enforce certain measures, here are the unintended consequences that might arise if we go about it the way it's proposed. At the same time, we can offer practical solutions to achieve the same positive outcomes, all while ensuring that child care providers remain a valuable and essential part of the educational landscape in Texas. That's why TLCCA is eager to step up and assist the Quad Agency in any way we can. We're prepared to offer practical guidance, share field-tested advice, and provide input on new ideas and how it might work in practice. Implementing standards in varied environments, think TLCCA. Optimizing workflows, think TLCCA. Addressing unexpected obstacles, think TLCCA. Our members can deliver valuable grounded perspectives to help refine and improve initiatives. In essence, we're committed to being a reliable partner in this endeavor. By drawing on the expertise of providers like us, the Quad Agency can develop approaches that are not only robust, but also realistic and supportive of quality care. We've got the network and the know-how to collaborate effectively, whether through consultations, workshops, or ongoing feedback. Thank you for your attention and your dedication to advancing childcare in Texas, and looking forward to working together for our families in the state.
Thank you, Mr. Dyke. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for being here. Tim Kaminsky, excuse me. Good to see you, Tim. Come on up, state your name and organization.
Good morning. My name is Tim Kaminsky. I'm with TLCCA. I believe in your packet you should have a flow chart that looks like this. If you don't, I have a couple to pass around. Good morning, esteemed members of the Texas Quad Agency Child Care Initiative Commission, child care professionals, and stakeholders. My name is Tim Kaminsky, and I'm president of the Texas Licensed Child Care Association. My family's been in the child care industry here in Texas for over 42 years. We operate 2 primary centers and 7 after-school programs in Fort Bend County. The child care sector in Texas faces significant challenges, including complex regulatory mandates and fluctuating funding sources. Addressing these issues is critical to ensuring that child care providers can operate sustainably and deliver high-quality services to children and families. By fostering collaboration between agencies and industry representatives, Texas can create a more unified approach that benefits all stakeholders. I'm honored to share these remarks on how we can work together to streamline regulations and enhance the efficiency of federal and state funding, ultimately strengthening both the child care industry and the workforce in Texas. Texas Quad Agency, as you've heard, brings together 4 vital agencies: the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, TWC, the Department of Family and Protective Services, and TEA. If you'll notice on the flow chart, we also have the Texas Department of Agriculture, because those of us who participate in the food program have those regulations to deal with as well. So I hope you will consider bringing them in at some point. Each agency plays a unique role in supporting child care, from health standards and workforce development to family support and early education. By joining forces, the Commission has a powerful opportunity to shape the future of child care in our state. TLCCA is eager to engage with the Commission as a collaborative partner. We offer a direct connection to providers across the state, ensuring that policies are informed by those who deliver care every day. One of the things I hear quite often is that some of the state agencies will send out emails and stuff trying to get feedback from the providers, and there's not a big response back. Whenever we send out to our membership, we get a big response back. So we're hoping that's something that can help you guys. Together, we can create advisory groups, host joint forums, and share data to implement smart decisions. Our association can help bridge gaps between agencies and providers, making certain that the voices of child care workers and families are heard and respected. Here are some concrete examples of this collaboration. Establish regular interagency working groups that meet quarterly to discuss cross-cutting issues and coordinate policy updates. I know you're only planning to meet 3 times a year, but we're in kind of a critical crisis state right now with the child care, so we'd like to see at least quarterly meetings established. Develop a shared digital communication platform for real-time updates, resource sharing, and feedback from providers. Launch a statewide annual child care collaborative summit, inviting agency officials, providers, families, and advocacy groups to share best practices and discuss challenges. Create pilot projects that pair agencies and local providers to test integrated regulatory or funding processes, gathering data to refine statewide approaches. Implement joint training sessions for agency staff and providers focused on regulatory changes. There's often a big disconnect between the people coming in to do our assessments and so forth and the providers. So if there was a little bit more understanding on both sides, I think that would go a little bit better. Form a family advisory council that meets with commission members and TLCCA representatives to ensure policies reflect the needs of Texas families. As it was mentioned earlier, childcare exists in many different parts of the states that have different needs. I hear a lot of talk about deserts and the need for childcare in the desert areas, but you have to understand from a business perspective why we're not in those deserts. It's not just about handing over some money, creating some regulations. There's some structural things that are missing that would have to be addressed as well. Coordinate statewide provider surveys to gather feedback on regulatory alignment and funding efficiencies using results to guide commission action plans. Aligning regulations across agencies will reduce confusion and administrative burdens for providers. When requirements are consistent and clear, childcare centers can focus on what matters most, serving children and families. Streamlined regulations mean less paperwork, fewer duplicated inspections, and more time spent on quality improvement. Recently on a Facebook post, it was questioned how many inspections are required of a childcare program every year. It's around 9 with the different agencies and entities if you include the city and county. The alignment will help providers comply with standards more efficiently and foster a culture of continuous improvement. Maximizing the impact of federal and state dollars is essential. For those of you who don't know, our only sources of income are for private pay, the food program, which is federal funds, and then also the subsidy program with TWC. That is it. So if those are not in alignment or if anything impacts that, then no matter what regulatory stuff we have in place, we're still not going to be able to function. It is important to note, we've heard a lot of talk about the pre-K partnerships. This year alone, this school year, on average, childcare providers lost 18 pre-K students to the private pay pre-K programs in the public school system. That's about $18,000 a month of revenue overnight that was lost from August to September, and that was across the state. In my area, although I do after school programs with my district, we approached them back in 2019 to do a pre-K partnership, fell apart, COVID hit. I've not heard from anybody since then, either from my district or from TWC, in terms of somebody coming to help coordinate that. By coordinating funding streams and simplifying eligibility processes, the collaborative can ensure the resources reach those who need them most without unnecessary delays or bureaucracy. Transparent communication among agencies will help in identifying overlapping programs and redirect funds to fill the gaps. Clear guidance on allowable expenses and reporting will help providers use funds effectively, supporting both operational needs and workforce development. In closing, I urge the Commission and all stakeholders to embrace collaboration and pursue regulatory alignment with determination. Let us work together to maximize funding and build a stronger, more resilient childcare sector for Texas. The Texas Licensed Childcare Association stands ready to partner with you in this important mission. Together, we can create a future where every child care provider and worker feels supported and every Texas family has access to high quality care. Thank you for your commitment and your vision.
Thank you, Mr. Kaminsky. Commissioners, any? Thanks, sir. That may be all of our in-person. We've got these in person. Thank you. Sorry for that. Yeah. Richard Bonhart. Okay, Richard Bonhart. Thank you for your help. Come on up and please state your state your name and organization. Thank you so much.
Richard Bonhart. My wife and I, we own the Goddard School in Southwest Texas. I am also a member of TLCCA. Thank you guys for having me here. I really appreciate you letting me speak. My name is Eric Bonhart, Richard Eric Bonhart. My wife and I have owned and operated the Goddard School in Southlake, Texas since 2017. During the 86th legislative session in 2019, the lawmakers passed House Bill 3, which stated that public schools must, and I emphasize the must, solicit and consider partnerships between the local public schools and private preschool providers. Since that time, there have been a relative few districts that have abided by this legislation. I have seen South Lake Carroll ISD and Keller ISD trample all over this law and ramp up offerings to 3 and 4-year-old students. The preschool I own and operate has taken significant losses in this age group over the past 6 years, and thousands of other preschools across Texas have suffered or even closed their doors. This is a direct result of how Texas state agencies implement policies. I have several thoughts on how the state agencies can work together in order to provide a safe place for our youngest Texans where they can learn and grow. Texas Health and Human Services through the Department of Family Protective Services does a great job of making rules to protect the young children in early education and child care centers. They hold all centers responsible for health and safety of the children in their centers. They hold all in their care. They make regular visits to ensure the centers are providing the care required. Also, they require these centers to self-report when a child is injured or is left alone or any other problems that might occur. When these accidents occur, DFPS sends a child care licensing representative to do an investigation and help the center make corrections in order to prevent them the same mistakes. Parents provide another layer of accountability because private early child care centers, early education child care centers providers are required to give access to the parents. We are held to a high standard of care which all 3 and 4-year-old students deserve. I am requesting for the safety of all the children that you have DFPS start doing site visits in the public schools that provide preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds. You may not believe you have the authority because they are public schools, but they are running a for-profit model out of those publicly funded buildings by charging tuition for some students. Public schools were not designed for this age group, and many of them are not capable of providing a safe place. For instance, playgrounds were designed for elementary school age kids. Bathrooms may not be set up to where a child can be monitored. And if you have to, and you must be in a space where it allows the children to be within sight and sound of the teacher at all times. Also, I'm requesting that public schools be required to allow parents access to their child's classrooms. This will be another form of accountability. My final request for today's meeting is that you require the school districts to self-report any injuries or problems that occur at public schools that provide pre-kindergarten or child care. These requests will give all young children the opportunity to learn in a safe environment. The Texas Education Agency is tasked with the education of youth. The TEA should be the only agency that dictates educational curriculum. At the present moment, we have curriculum standards set forth by the TEA and the Texas Workforce Commission's. Texas Workforce Commission also sets educational standards through the Texas Rising Star program. TWC should turn over educational requirements to the TEA, and that way we have a single standard. Kindergarten readiness would be easier to achieve if we have standards set by a single agency. Another area that needs coordination between the TEA and TWC is public school partnership with private early education centers. As I mentioned in my opening comment, the majority of school districts ignore the fact that they are required by House Bill 3 to solicit private providers. Texas Workforce Commission has a group that is supposed to facilitate partnerships, but very few partnerships between local school districts and providers near them have been put in place. At the same time, you have the Texas Education Agency allowing the school districts to expand preschool and pre-kindergarten programs they have in place. House Bill 3 explicitly states that a school district may not repurpose, construct, or issue bonds for the purpose of pre-kindergarten without soliciting and considering a partnership agreement with the provider. Well, that ship has sailed. Northwest ISD issued bonds to build 4 buildings specifically for preschool, and Leander ISD issued a bond to build a very large campus for pre-kindergarten. Many more school districts have issued bonds and have expanded these services. At the present time, we have Grapevine, Colleyville ISD openly talking about starting a program for 2-year-olds. My request is that the Texas Workforce Commission start holding the districts accountable for not approaching the private providers. At the same time, I would urge the Texas Education Agency to stop school districts from expanding pre-kindergarten services without meeting their legal obligations. with coordinated effort, you can help provide a safe learning environment for our preschool and pre-kindergarten students and kindergarten. Thank you for your time. I would like to add one more thing on that partnership. I am in South Lake, which, if you don't know, is a suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. The only school district that approached us for a partnership, I had to drive 300 miles west to get. So we're talking about in West Texas. They approached us, and I asked them why, and they said we need students enrolled in our university. So, thank you for your time. What's that? Sundown. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was all.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you, Mr. Bond.
Thank you. Take care.
Dr. Melanie Johnson. Ms. Johnson, come on up, state your name and organization.
Good morning, I'm Melanie Johnson, and I appreciate this opportunity. I've been waiting for this moment for my entire career to have each of you at this table together coordinating. So I applaud just the opportunity to be here in your presence. I'm with an organization out of Houston, Texas called Collaborative for Children. We focus on direct service early education provision for an ecosystem for 125 child care centers. And at one point, we housed each of these 4 agencies, these programs from all of your agencies, sometimes simultaneously. We had Texas Rising Stars, Quality Rating Improvement System, which served 1/4 of the state's children ages birth to 5 years of age. The Department of Family and Public Services, we have home visitation for more than 200 families. We've had statewide business coaching for Health and Human Services, and child care licensing requirements are a part of that business coaching, as well as the one thing that has been missing, though, is Texas Education Agency's pre-K guidelines across the child care industry in terms of standardized accountability. We want more children, specifically children on subsidized childcare, to enter school ready. We have to be sure that those pre-K guidelines have some level of accountability. Now, under Rule 102.1003, high quality pre-K, school readiness integration under the Texas Education Code refers to cooperative strategies to share agency resources, including the scarcity of qualified teachers, because as we use teachers from ISDs to go into child care centers, they will become more and more scarce. We also, in that interchange, there's a suggestion of joint professional development programs and comprehensive instructional framework, and more importantly, monitoring beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. I respectfully plead to the commissioners that the Quad Agency kindly and thoughtfully consider that this critical exchange of resources is thrust upon childcare teachers in a business that's somewhat fledgling oftentimes, with semi-skilled, under-resourced, and lower wage earning childcare teachers who are only required to have a minimum of 24 hours training before teaching. That's the equivalent of 1 day of training. So when we are going to offer that kind of exchange of professional development and interagency resources and amendment sharing, please give credence to quality instruction that's commensurate to public school pre-K. We would love to have ongoing professional coaching, and that is indicative of the National Institute for Early Education Research, NEAR. Alabama uses it, New York uses it, and our own superintendent, Mike Miles, has been successful with ongoing real-time professional coaching. Common agency metrics, as I mentioned, as I opened, school readiness metrics with progress monitoring, with beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. And then finally, this funding may very well be allocated by the underutilized funds for, as I ironically hear that there's so many seats that have been taken, and I hear that on a daily basis from private childcare to public childcare. there are so many vacancies in public childcare in terms of pre-K enrollment. But I believe that those underutilized funds can be reallocated to make sure that we professionalize instructional standards and cross-agency standards across this quad agency. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Next, we have Kurt Hudson. Kurt, come on up. Please state your name and organization.
Morning. My name is Kurt Hudson. I own a preschool in Allen, Texas, north of Dallas. I'm also a member of TLCCA. I won't duplicate some of the testimony that was given. I think the whole purpose of this agency is to eliminate duplication. So I will not serve the crime for which the sentence has been given. I will say I just want to give a specific focus. I think we're in an environment where pre-K is probably at center. And there's a collision that's happening right now between publicly funded pre-K and then private pre-K. And they're coming together within predominantly our four walls. And so one of the biggest places that this agency can make a difference is by looking at the differences that happen between the TEA and licensing. We have public-private partnerships, which have been hit or miss at best, but there are some that are starting to form, as you heard with Fort Davis or Sundown ISD. And those are coming online. And obviously you have school choice as well, where I know private childcare providers will be engaging in the school choice option for both pre-K and private kindergarten settings. And that's creating an environment where you have differing regulations and policies for those students. And for us, we will have co-enrolled students. There are private pay students and then publicly funded students or school choice students. They're all within the same classroom, same teacher, but yet have different rules they have to follow. And I just want to bring some clarity to that, or have this agency focus on that to bring some clarity. And just to give some examples, ratios are different, whether that's teacher to child ratio, maximum group size, or flexibility in how it can be handled. I know in my kids, when I did a watchdog day one time, they were short on teachers. So they just combined 2 classrooms into one classroom, and they had 40 something kids with one teacher. It was one day, and I get it. It's not going to change the world. But if we did that, I'll leave that there. The definition of supervision is drastically different. If we send a child down the hallway on their own to go to the bathroom, we get cited for lack of supervision at a high level of severity. The school district does that all day long. And that's true for our after school students who literally just came from the school district, or our pre-K students. It's just a different standard, again, that needs to be looked at. Injury reporting, Eric already addressed, which also extends into liability or lawsuit. So as an example, if I have a class next year that's got 20 students and 19 are private pay and 1 is publicly funded, whether that's school choice or partnership with Sundown ISD, if that child happens to run into another child on a playground because they're running and having fun and it requires medical attention, I'm required by licensing to report that. Let's just say it's a cut on the required stitches. I'm required to report that. But if that child's a publicly funded child, am I required to report that to TEA or DFPS? Or am I required to report it at all? Because I don't believe school districts have to report that to anybody. I'm not 100% certain, but there's no clarity there. Does it matter how many students are in the classroom that are publicly funded? If it's 100% publicly funded, do I follow different rules as a result? Or do I still follow licensing standards? And then the same is true for if that parent decides that they want to sue you, do I have sovereign immunity like the school districts do for that particular child or for any of the children, or no? There's a lot of questions that come up as we see this collision course between public funding coming into our 4 walls and private funding still being there. And there needs to be some clarity brought to that. And hopefully these are just a few questions that have been floating in my small brain, but in the world that I live in, but hopefully it helps open up some others. And certainly we can come up with a longer list, but I won't exhaust the time here. So I appreciate you guys being here. And I know this is kind of probably a little bit outside of the norm for your normal roles, but I appreciate the effort. And I know it's probably gonna have you scratching your heads on some things. So thanks guys, appreciate it. Thank you.
Kelsey Strufert, come on up. State your name and your organization.
Good morning.
Morning.
Kelsey Erickson Stroifert. I'm the Chief Public Affairs Officer for the Texas Restaurant Association and the co-founder of the Employers for Childcare Task Force. Maybe I should apologize first, because if you're upset you're here today, it's kind of because of us. This bill idea really came about as the Employers for Childcare Task Force dug into these issues a year or two ago. And, I think the key is, why are we here, right? We're here because we don't have enough childcare slots across the state of Texas. The slots that we do have are often too expensive for working families. And then there are lots of slots where maybe the quality isn't high enough to really make sure that kids are ready for school and eventually ready for jobs. If you're wondering, why does the Texas Restaurant Association care about any of that? It's because we never have enough workers, and pretty much every industry across the state of Texas is saying the same thing. 60% of parents who are not in the workforce say childcare is a top reason they're not in the workforce. So as we look at how can we get more people online, working, growing our state, childcare comes up again and again. The idea for this task force really was going back to that issue of not enough childcare and it's too expensive when we find it. Some of those factors are outside of our control, right? I've got a 9-month-old. It should be kind of an expensive proposition to take care of 10 9-month-olds. That's exhausting, I can testify. And so we need to pay teachers a living wage and have quality programs, and that costs money. But where the government can't,
Commissioners, anything? Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Sharon, was it Shannon Perry? Excuse me. Sharon Perry, come on up. Please state your name and your organization, Ms. Perry.
deficiency, Texas Workforce has the ability to reduce the amount that we're paying.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, where'd I leave off? Childcare centers like mine, if we get a deficiency, the amount of which we are reimbursed is automatically reduced. There needs to be a formal hearing on deficiencies that require reduction in payment, because there is no other child that receives care in any facility, whether it's an ISD, a non-accredited center, or a private pay parent, because a child care center receives the deficiencies, they get a chance to replace a reduced amount of money. Cash flow is essential for sustaining as a small business. And when you're already underpaid, that undermines quality and it brings down morale of the child care center employees. Thirdly, I want to address licensing and enforcement and the appeals process. I have personally appealed citations with the State Office of Administrative Hearings and won without an attorney. And one administrative law judge in their ruling clearly stated this did not happen at the licensed child care center. When I inquired about having an attorney to represent us, no one wanted anything less than $7,000 as a retainer. That is unaffordable. At the end of the hearing, the administrative judge said this did not occur in this licensed child care center. That was a significant amount of time spent to prepare, stress, and a financial strain on my child care center for an issue that drug on for more than 2 years. Moreover, licensing inspectors have no accountability. They don't share any accountability. Some of their interpretations of 746 and 745 are subjective. It leads to inconsistency by the inspectors when they come out to the centers. Some of the items that they're looking at are administrative type items that have no apparent reasons that supports better childcare quality. For example, inspecting to see the licensed childcare center updated an infant's feeding sheet every month, and it was signed off by a parent. There's nothing based on that administrative duty that improves quality of childcare. Finally, I urge the commission to consider attaching certain violations like headcount and ratio compliances to the educators. Most childcare centers, especially those that are nationally accredited in Texas Rising Star 3 and 4, we train at a very high sufficient level. I can train a teacher, yet that teacher, if they, whether they're nervous or whatever may happen, they may miss a count, they're not given any type of grace. The deficiency gets tied to the childcare center. And in some cases, the educator may get fired. They go to the next childcare center and they get hired. They create the exact same deficiency. I am urging the commission to consider attaching those deficiencies to the educators or the teachers' TechPEGS account. That way you will inherently improve quality of the educators of which you're hiring into licensed childcare centers. We need to create some type of accountability and stop penalizing centers for the deficiencies that they do not directly control. These things are indirectly driving up our insurance costs. My center specifically, my insurance has risen 6x from where I started 12 years ago. I do believe in the goal that this quality agency is trying to achieve. And I welcome the opportunity to continue to collaborate with you guys, perhaps work on a task force or consulting group to focus on regulatory reform. I'm asking for licensed childcare centers to have a seat at the table. We have experienced people who understand the rules and regulations and things that can inherently improve the quality of all of our children. Lastly, I just want to echo
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Commissioners, anything? Thank you for being here. Jennifer Johnson, please come up and state your name and organization. Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah. Have a backup for that one too. Try this.
Okay, great. Thank you for caring so much. I appreciate it. Hello,
Thank
can you
you,
hear me now?
Testing.
Okay, good, awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank y'all for coming today, all of you. So my name is Jenny Johnson, and I am the founder of Project One Day. We are a Christian 501c3 in Houston, Texas, working to generate free childcare for families in need. And we do this with the use of a unique staffing model. The way I came to the childcare arena was I was a defense attorney in CPS court, and I saw the end game to what happens when this group of people can't figure out the math of childcare and how to get kids safe care. And let me tell you, it is way more important than just education. It's about safety. I saw cases of kids getting left alone, babies sitting alone on motel beds, propped up with bottles and car seats. They've been left there all day with dirty diapers because their mama did not have anyone to leave that baby with. Okay, one, they left the kids in the back seat of a car behind a Taco Bell because she had to go to her job and she couldn't afford daycare, so she sat those toddlers in the back seat of the car. Okay, it is serious. Or worse, sex offenders. Your next door neighbor sex offender who's waiting to babysit your kids because he knows that you can't afford daycare. It is very serious what we are talking about. Okay, and so this stressed me out, and for a year I did research on understanding why is daycare so wacky expensive. And I had stayed home with my children. I never actually shopped it before. I didn't know. It's nuts. Okay, and I know y'all all know that it's crazy expensive. If you make minimum wage in Houston, Texas, you're pulling in $15,000 a year. $15,000 a year. That's pretty much the tuition for one kid at a decent daycare. And the truth is, it's more than that once you add on tuition and fees for an infant. It's closer to $18,000, $20,000. And many churches are charging that. All right. It's very expensive. And so this stressed me out. And there was a lady at my own church. She was in the daycare at our church. She had an awesome idea. And I walked in the door. I said, I have a heart for single parents that can't afford daycare. And I want to know, what is our church doing to help solve this problem? And she sat there and schooled me in the math of childcare. And she said that the reason daycare is so expensive, it has to do with student to teacher ratios, because 60% or more of a daycare's budget goes to paying those teachers. And if you don't address student to teacher ratios, government, you are not doing much. You are not really attacking much of the problem. You can add all this training, all these different things, but if you don't address the cost of daycare, you aren't doing much. And so I took this idea. I had zero experience in childcare. I understood liability. I understood that that's an industry that's not fun to be in, okay? But I read the minimum standards cover to cover, a 250-page document, and I figured out what is the math of daycare and could I create this model? And I did. I did on a notebook paper, and then I pitched it to the CEO of Children at Risk over there, Dr. Bob Sanborn. And he said, that's a great idea, but you need to figure out how to run a 501c3, and you've never done this before. So he gave me a list of homework of people in Houston, Texas to go pitch this idea to. And I did, and I won a Shark Tank type competition in Houston for this idea, and I'm about to tell you what the idea is, okay? What you do is for a class of 10 kids, and by the way, we took the most expensive age for childcare, the segment that the government doesn't want to touch with the 10-foot pole, which is 6 weeks to 3 years old. That's very expensive. For infant care, you have to have one teacher for every 4 kids in that room. If HISD was bound to those ratios, they would be bankrupt in a day. That's like 5 kindergarten teachers per classroom. That's insane, all right? And these private daycares are trying to pull this off. But anyways, so what you do is you take a class of 10 kids, and I always do this on my hand, whether I'm at a dinner party or whatever, so you can understand it. You can do it too, okay? So for a class of 10 kids, Monday through Friday, and you think of every finger on your hand as a day of the week, okay? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So 5 days a week, I have an experienced, paid, well-paid teacher in that room. That person is in charge of that class. And then the 10 parents of the 10 kids that can't afford daycare, all those parents, You put them through that training to become a childcare worker. And we do 30 hours. We do more than 24. We do 30 hours of training. We background check. We drug test them. We basically have been, the last 5 years, have been operating like a mini TWC. Okay. And it is a hard job. I do not envy you. Okay. But that teacher is with those kids. Okay. Then the 10 parents of the 10 kids that we just put through the training, I label them A through J because that's 10 letters of the alphabet. And it goes like this: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So parent A, mom or dad, right? They volunteer, and yes, they will do it. They volunteer every Monday at our school as an assistant teacher in that classroom. And then the other 4 days a week, they get a scholarship for completely free childcare so they can work or go to school. My cost per child, instead of 18,000 or whatever for an infant, my cost per child is 9,000 a kid, which is right exactly in line with that subsidy. Okay, and the reason is because 2/3 of my staff are volunteers. Your wait list, which is insane in Houston, Texas. Okay, according to the 2025, this last month's board notes at the Gulf Coast Workforce Solutions meeting, they now have 50,000 kids sitting on that wait list. And that is estimated, I think, now maybe I don't understand it, that's like 1 in 10 of those who would qualify. Really, that's just the people that actually put their name on the list. Okay, the math does not work. But if you use that workforce and mobilize it as a means to fix the math of daycare, you could do a mighty thing. And this is basic, I'm about to wrap up here. This is basic business and economic principle, okay? In addition to my law degree, I have a business degree from Texas A&M University, okay? When you go to business school or get a degree in economics, okay, one of the first things that you learn is the principle of supply and demand, okay? When your demand exceeds your supply for your little thing that you're selling, right? What do? You raise your price. So to bring equilibrium, or better yet, you make some money, right? But what happens when your thing that you're selling, your widget, is an essential product? It's something that the public needs. It's food, it's shelter, it's, in this case, childcare, right? You have to change the product because you cannot raise the price. They can't afford it already. So you have to have a new product. This is true. This is why here in Austin, Texas, you got companies that are learning to 3D print houses for families in need, right? They're doing, I don't know who that is. They're awesome. They're geniuses. Okay. Another one, or you've had families in struggling countries, that they're eating a different kind of meal, right? But it provides nutrients, and it maybe doesn't look appealing to us. It provides the nutrients to ward off famine, that kind of thing. We have a product, by the way, that does not, it's an appealing product. Chairman has been to our location. This is not a second-rate institution. It is beautiful because I don't want to work in ugly places, okay? And we go in, and it's a gorgeous library, children's library with big classrooms and great teacher-to-student ratios. In my 2- and 3-year-old class, we have 15 kids and 4 teachers a day. In the 1-year-old class, it's 12 kids and 3 teachers a day. And in my infant class, I have a max of 8 kids and 3 teachers a day. That's on par with your $20,000 a year daycare, and we're doing it for $9,000 a kid. It's time to think outside the box. That's all.
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Johnson before you step away? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Okay. Just one more check for anybody in person that has gone up. Thank you all for everybody who's here, who signed up to talk. We have online waiting on Zoom, Eric Humphrey. Go ahead and unmute if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. State your name and your organization. Thank you for waiting.
Yes, hello. My name is Eric Humphrey. I am a daycare business owner in McAllen in South Texas. I opened my doors 16 years ago, long time. Very successful startup back in 2009. 2013, I even expanded, bought new land, double our size by adding pre-K. We are certified 4-star center, high quality center. Over the years, we've applied multiple grants. We've built a beautiful facility. We have new furniture, curriculum for every age group. We have a beautiful playground, even a vegetable garden, highly qualified teachers, some even with CDA. But now I'm lacking customers, honestly. Ever since the public schools opened their doors to pre-K3 and pre-K4 students, our business went downhill. School districts took away basically half of our business, providing it for free. I mean, how can we possibly compete with a free service? At the current moment, I'm running at 30% capacity, and less than my current customers are private pay. Gives you an idea of the difficulty people are having paying for very expensive daycare costs. We've cut our workforce by 50%, and honestly, struggling to keep up with basic operating expenses. I am projecting that if things don't improve, we will sadly have to close our doors within 6 to 8 months. It just breaks our heart because this business has been part of our livelihood. My wife already went back to teaching because our business is no longer profitable. My childcare center is considered small in size compared to others out there. But if I was to maximize enrollment, we would easily generate $500,000 a year. I mean, if you do the math, Texas childcare centers are a dormant economic powerhouse here in the state. We're missing out. And instead of pouring some extra funding, we're allowing school districts to take away half of our business and use taxpayer dollars to offer this service for free. I mean, what's worse is, as others have just pointed out, business went away and districts are not checked or inspected. They're not held to the same expectations that us high quality centers are subjected to. I mean, sometimes school teachers just lack the training to deal with with these babies that are crying for attention. Pre-K is not always their main line of work. School principals are very knowledgeable with TEKS, STARS, student development, SPED programs, school law, but not necessarily with early childhood and how to treat these babies in a big school. Pre-K students end up being treated like elementary students out there, stripped away sometimes from the chance to play while they're learn, which is what we do here in childcare centers. I'll give you a few examples, like others have pointed out. If you can just walk into a school and you'll see it for yourself. Teachers in school districts are not necessarily given the right training to deal with crying pre-K babies or even diaper changing. I mean, sometimes school classrooms are not equipped with a diaper changing station, for example. They don't have a disinfecting routine or procedure. I mean, why is this allowed at a school but not allowed at a daycare center? Schools often get out of ratio. Everybody already said it. Outside play is not sometimes prioritized, sometimes not even part of their schedule. And on the other hand, for example, childcare centers are even required to give parents a note every day detailing how their child, what they ate, how many diapers we changed, how was the mood for the day. The latest requirement now is to inform parents daily what the child learned that day. I mean, it's great, but all these requirements are unheard of in a school, and I don't understand why this is being allowed. Last month, I attended a meeting at my local Texas Workforce Solution office. There was a lot of attendance from daycare owners. Close to 50 of us were there. Huge eye opener that basically everybody has the same concern, and many are thinking of closing doors already. We just don't know what else to do. Partnerships, I mean, we've tried it a few years ago. We tried it with the local school district, but it just didn't work out. I mean, we did get a certified teacher, but she couldn't handle the ratios. She couldn't handle the kids. No patience, no diaper. She didn't want to change diapers. We did not get any ADA funding to be able to lower the cost for private pay. And we honestly got a lot of complaints. We had to end the partnership, sadly. In summary, I think it's fair to say that the childcare industry is in big trouble, and we really need the pre-K business back in high quality childcare centers. We're already certified, fully equipped. We're continuously audited and ready to serve our community. We need the funding to come to us and not school districts so we can offer rebates to our parents. TEA is currently already funding pre-K teachers out there. Why not fund instead high quality centers to offer affordable prices to families and provide developmentally appropriate services to our young children? The school voucher program could be a great initiative. I just don't know if pre-K centers are going to be part of that. I haven't really heard much about it by my local representatives. But overall, we're thrilled to see that our state has formed this commission to assess and improve our systems. And I just hope and pray that our voice will be heard and that we can hang in there to see if there's any change coming that will help us turn around our business. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Humphrey? Thank you, Mr. Humphrey. Appreciate it. Next, Naseem Abadaher. You're online. Please unmute and state your name.
Hi, can you hear me?
Try again. We caught a little bit.
Yeah, how's that? Can you hear me? All right.
Better. I think I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Nassim Abudaher. I am the owner and CEO of Little Oaks Early Learning Academy in Houston. We have 3 small schools. We operate small schools, and I'm looking to buy a 4th one, and that is the main reason I wanted to offer public comment today. I'm new to the industry, so I've been trying to learn quickly. I've been running this company for the last 2 years. My prior life was a commercial lender for over 20 years, so I evaluated risk and lent to a variety of businesses that were in regulated industries. And it was very common when an acquisition occurred that a company would announce acquisition of ABC company subject to regulatory approval. The regulator would approve, and then the acquisition would happen. And as I have embarked upon this journey to buy a small center on the outskirts of town in Houston, I've come face to face with the rule that seems to be more acutely enforced in the last few months, that the existing seller has to have their permit rescinded and have the business closed down for up to 2 months before I'm able to take over with my permit. And it just makes me really confused that exists, that framework exists, and there's not a more streamlined way to not disrupt care for families. I appreciate the opportunity to present here today, particularly on the issue of accessibility. It just further exacerbates the problem of centers in these smaller areas where we're trying to take over, and families are really reliant on that care, to have to come to the families and say, hi, we're trying to get this new permit. Please be patient. It could take a few days, or it could take a few weeks or a few months, and a family cannot adjust to their work schedules with an undetermined amount of time to take care of their kids, triage that, maybe a day or two, but that's about it. So when we've submitted our application, we're in the process right now trying to go through the various steps and being as transparent and open as possible. But the consistent feedback from Texas Child Care Licensing is you're just going to have to tell your parents to be patient. We can't tell you exactly when you're going to get a new permit. And when I share that just with friends and family, I get the same really confused look and the common response of, well, I don't understand why you can't be given your permit and then have the acquisition close and then provide continuous care to the families. So I just wanted to notate that it seems to be a rule that has been around for a while, but not very well enforced. And now the pendulum seems to have swung in the complete opposite direction, which is causing some centers to even consider closing, or people who are looking to expand or grow like me and acquire new centers, we're potentially standing back and not doing so because I may not have a business to buy. I have to go several weeks by and families choose to go elsewhere, or worse, there isn't enough supply in the market and they're having to struggle with their own employment and try to get off from work to take care of their kids. So that's just the only comment I wanted to make. We really appreciate the time to speak. But again, on that specific rule about the transition of ownership in early childhood education, I think that does need some attention, where as long as the seller and buyer are very transparent, working with licensing, that there should be a seamless transition and continuous care provided for the families that so depend on it. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Ms. Dixon?
Yes, Mr. Abu-Jaher, this is Jordan Dixon with the Health and Human Services Commission. We have heard in the last month or so, a couple of other folks have contacted us about issues with change of ownerships. We have a lot more experience doing those in like nursing homes and assisted living, but I think in childcare, we're still kind of working through it. But I'm going to have our director of daycare licensing reach out to you. I have your contact information here to see how we can help resolve this.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Abudar. I'm got a couple more. Brittany Barella, if she's available. Unmute, not here. Stace Jones also signed up. I'm getting head shakes now. Anybody else that I have another email. Okay. I think that concludes our public comments. Let's see. Thank you, everybody who came to public comment, provided their perspective and experience. We appreciate that. Commissioners, anything left on the agenda? I think we are coming to our conclusion, and before we adjourn, I definitely want to thank obviously our commissioners here serving again. We appreciate that, as well as our legislative offices who've represented here, and our staff from our lieutenant governor, governor's offices that have come in here. Again, this is part of the process and part of where we are going to continue to work together. I also want to thank our staff at TWC and supporting staff from our quad agency members, especially everybody who came here, our providers. Again, we continue to hear from you, and this is kind of how the quad agency is going to make sure that we understand what perspective you are. So appreciate y'all traveling and everybody who joined from on Zoom so that we can get a good cross section of what the entire state is doing in childcare for that. So I appreciate it again. I will accept a motion to adjourn if there is one.
So moved.
Everybody in favor? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much.